dreams, museum victories. Every day we wanted everything.
Hello there! Welcome to All Things Mets Talk. Everybody, let's go Mets!
Woo!
Brenda.
Welcome! Let's go Mets!
Yay!
Oh my God! They're playing this weekend!
They're gonna have a remix with Pitbull coming out on the 11th. You guys ready for that?
Oh wow! Can't wait! Woo!
They better still be in it by then.
Yeah, I just want them to focus on baseball, not music, not like any shenanigans.
Except sometimes it works when they focus on shenanigans and not baseball.
Yeah, hey, you know what? The latest shenanigan is pumpkins, right? For October. You heard the whole pumpkin thing, right?
Yeah, if they keep that pumpkin around for too long, it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know. If it's good luck, keep it around.
Do whatever you gotta do.
Somebody clean it out if you have to. But hey, everyone out there, welcome. It's such a great day to be a Met fan. What amazing victory last night, and of all our unlikely heroes, I guess, Alonso did it, and it was remarkable. So
Alonso redeemed himself.
Big time.
Sure.
Yeah.
We just hope he stays hot.
So it's one of those things too where you remember like a player, right? Or like the event. And I just wonder if this is something that's going to resonate and stick with Met fans going forward when we're like talking about like whether Pete's going to be here or not, which I don't even want to get into. But my point is that this is like one of those moments, right? Where you just go, wow, like you're always going to remember what he did. And it was really heroic because he got that off of one of the best pitchers in baseball, the 3-run homer. And it was clutch because he was struggling. And I don't know who saw that coming. Who had that on their bingo card?
Well, there's a theory out there that Williams was tipping his pitches. So I don't know if anybody you saw that video from John Boy.
Yeah.
Very subtle stuff, but this guy zoomed in the glove, and the glove was different. And then the manager, did you watch it, Emily?
I did, and one of the batting coaches was talking to Pete right before he went up, and you could see him say change up. So it's unclear if he was like letting him know when you could see that he was throwing a change up. Either way, that's the game. You know, when you're playing the game, I mean, that's why, wasn't it Sevy who was tipping his pitches last year, and McGill figured it out and told him about it, you know?
Yeah. It's about being smart, you know, in the game and getting
as long
ahead.
as it's not like the Houston Astros doing, you know.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
The cheating. It's not cheating, you know, it is what it is there. And, you know, it's just interesting though, if that's the case, like, you know, like with Severino last year, he was terrible all year. Like, what is it like now? This guy who's had this amazing season, I think his ERA was like under 2. So many strikeouts, just brilliant pitching, dominating, not giving up home runs. And now, but last year, he didn't do well in the playoffs either against Arizona. So I don't know, maybe it's more about him not handling stress and about Pete kind of, you know.
I can't imagine how tough it is because, you know, pitchers, or even hitters too, they have to think about so many things with their mechanics and where they stand and where the bat is. Like, I'm sure that for all of them, for a lot of them is automatic, but when they have to make adjustments, all that stuff that needs to go in your head at the time, and then the pitching clock, and then wait, they could be tipping my pitches. Let me change my, oh my God, so many things they have to like think about. It's incredible.
pitching is probably one of the most difficult sports, and they say like for hitters especially because you fail most of the time as a good hitter,
Yeah.
you're getting out more than you're actually getting on.
Yeah, that's
And
what they say. It's one of the most difficult things to do is
it
to
really
hit
is.
that
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah, but I think the best pitchers are the ones that just kind of like they have the cadence and the rhythm and they're kind of they're they have the groove and they can just they know their pitches so well and they have a good communication with the catcher and um, they're the ones that aren't like overly thinking. The ones that overly think, especially if a runner's on base, ugh, that's always been a problem for a lot of pitchers that they can't handle the runners on base. So
Yeah, and I think for Alonso, tipping or not, I mean, he was patient at the plate, and I think that paid off big time. So
and who thought it was a home run? I wasn't really like feeling like it. I thought it might get caught there at the wall, that it was close enough where he could make, a leaping catch. And when it cleared the wall and some guy, Met fan, was celebrating out there, I was like, where did that guy come from? I was like, oh my God, it was just,
I think we were not prepared for that, to be
no,
honest. Like,
no. I'm always like, get a hit, just get on base. A walk would be
I was
fine.
praying for that. I was praying. What it went through my mind, and I want all of us to say what it went through your mind. That I said, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be incredible if Pete hit a home run right now? For him, for all he's been through, obviously, for us to like get ahead."
I honestly
And
didn't even think
then
it was possible.
the exactly.
I think you're being honest there, Emily.
The fairy tale ending is incredible. Like Steve Cohen said it, like Hollywood couldn't have written a better script than this. Like the movie, The Natural, like Robert Redford hitting the ball. Like, wow.
So, Emily, should I disclose some of your comments about Alonso?
No, I mean, I think honestly, I think I was having the same feeling that the majority of honest Met fans were having. He's had. So I got really frustrated because I mean, they're human and they're playing a very difficult sport and they're playing against very difficult opponents and the skills. Like it's not easy what these guys are doing. So I, you know, under no circumstance think that like they're perfect or people aren't going to make mistakes. I really appreciated when Diaz came out and talked about mistakes he made, like covering first, and that he acknowledged things he did wrong because I think that that's genuine, and
That's
then it
genius.
Yeah.
it makes me like, But when Pete would come out and be like, "I think I'm having great at bats," I'd be like,
What?
"What?
But
We
you know
are
what?
watching."
I
Like, and you're
really, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I really think he felt that way. Like, I don't think in Pete's, I know he thought he could be doing better, but he didn't think he was playing poorly. I really felt like he was like, "Look, I'm contributing in other ways, and I'm fine." So I think the Met fans were very extreme with him about just get rid of him,
Oh
bench
yeah.
he does, bat him last, don't bat him, and I think that's a little bit too extreme when a guy, even though he didn't hit in clutch, he did have 34 home runs, he did bat 240, he did walk a lot, his on base percentage was high, and he played the field well. So for me, it wasn't a Pete Alonso spectacular year that we expected with him going into free agency, but for me, it wasn't a disaster. That's my opinion.
it's not that I think it was a disaster. You also like I was also taking into consideration that it was his walk year and it was,
All
you
eyes
know,
on him. This is
and I think that really did impact him more than, so I was going back to like times that I've seen Pete hit like those game changing home runs or those game changing hits. And like, usually it's when he's not worried about himself. His head is in the game. He's, like I was at the game last year against the Guardians when he hit a grand slam, which ended up being, bringing them back into the game when I thought the game was over. And I remember like, because I had my aunt's seats that were really good and we were right there, and he like was so in it that he took the dip out of his mouth and threw it and it ended up hitting a fan. And then
That's pretty
and
gross.
they did like a pitching change and he like ran over and he apologized. But like he was
He's
his
clumsy
head
by
was
nature, I
so
think.
in it
Yeah.
though that like, and I haven't seen him doing that this year. So I think he did that at the end of this game and it
Yeah.
was a game changer for him.
Yeah, I've always thought he's like a big kid and he's clumsy by nature. And he really gets, and I've said this before, he really gets in his mind when the things are not well. And you can see it. It's like so
But as frustrated
transparent.
as I was with Pete this entire time, I always said, and I wanted to be wrong more than anything. Like I
Mhm.
was frustrated. I didn't think he should be batting cleanup. I didn't think he should be, you know, I mean,
Playing all the time.
we don't have another first baseman. I thought he should be
Yeah.
playing, but I didn't think that he should be high in the lineup. Like I was frustrated, but I also wanted to be proven wrong because I
Yeah.
don't want to think that about I don't think that about anyone on the team. When I get frustrated, like I love it when I'm wrong.
But it's normal to be frustrated, especially when it's us, like that. Like there's so many people that were saying the same thing in social media, like the extremist that's not us, but wow, Pete, come on, like snap out of it. We want him to do better, but we have to acknowledge that it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And let me tell you, this is a game changer, really, because they're moving on and they're going now playing against Philadelphia, and that's a big deal. And if you ask Met fans, like, would you rather have Pete be hitting home runs at clutch all year long, or right, like clutch for winning a series to move on in the playoffs? They would obviously say, forget the season. We want him to have this hit and move on. Of course, that's a silly kind of comparison, but
Nobody gets to pick.
it's all about the ring, right? It's all about winning the World Series. That's really what matters. And the fact that they've overachieved already to be playing the Phillies is amazing, I think.
Well, and I think that this is when I'm grateful that David Stearns makes these decisions and not me or not fans. Because, like,
Us.
I was sad when they traded, you know, Escobar. I was sad to lose. Like, you get attached to players, and I can't take my own feelings out of it. Like, I'll be sad if he's not there. I'll be happy if he is. But at the same time, like, I have trust in Stearns to make the right
Yeah.
decision and not really care if he pisses people off doing it, if it's the right thing for the team.
Yeah, and we don't know what's behind all these decisions. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with wheeling and dealing and behind the scenes. And so I think, we're just looking at it from our own perspective. We're not looking at it from money and like, what other players they could acquire and that sort of thing, or the demands of the player and things that happen in the dugout with chemistry. I mean, there's so much that
So many things.
factors in. And I think the fans, if they can rally behind Alonso, really, may have a say in the decision making too, possibly. If this becomes, they go all out and they go far, and Pete's a big contributor and reason why,
They were the same thing with Lindor in the beginning.
Oh
Lindor.
yeah.
Yeah,
I know Lindor, they wanted out. Oh my gosh. What a waste of money, they said.
yeah. Hi, Tom. Have a good.
I
Oh, thank you, Tom.
oh thanks.
Biggest fan.
And but also look like when Stanek was like one of the big pickups in the trade deadline, it seemed like a disaster. Like, why are you getting? He was terrible at first. And one of the things that was said about him is that he's great in the postseason. He's got experience in the postseason, high leverage situations, and he's turned out to be someone that I feel confident when you see him coming out and his.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and may I remind you, Brenda? You said you shouldn't. We shouldn't use Peterson for relief.
Well, I said that the second game. It was the
Well, I
third.
said we can bring him out for relief. They
No,
have them ready. They
he said they're not going to use a starter in the second game because they would need the starter. I didn't say specifically.
had them. It was
That's
a
why.
possibility.
No, but I thought it was a good move, and I think if we're going to talk about starters, we should talk about what's happening tomorrow, which is really kind of unpredictable, right? Like I cannot believe Senga is starting tomorrow. Like who saw that coming?
You mean
in the chat room, who saw that Senga would be?
Senga coming back?
They did say that he had thrown a
Starting.
bullpen session
Oh,
a
he's
couple days
starting
ago.
tomorrow, right? He's announced as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
Oh.
they said that he threw a bullpen a couple days ago. So it was kind of like, when is this? Like, what is this for? Is he going to
Yeah,
be ready? Is he going to be?
I just didn't think they would use him as a starter. I thought like potentially they would ease him back in, and they'll probably ease him back in anyway and have a limit to how many pitches or innings. But I thought maybe it would be in a different capacity.
Yeah, I think when it's the playoffs, anything goes. You
Yeah.
have to just
Yeah, and
especially in elimination game.
well, the elimination game, you're all out. Like you never know what's gonna. I mean, Milwaukee threw their starter out there too, Peralta, which I thought was going to be a disaster for them. I thought that was a really bad move on their part, and they probably should have just left him in. That might have been the better decision. Well, you got to go with also your closer. I think that it's just the Mets got to him. So what do we think out there? Like predictions. We got Wheeler tomorrow, which we beat. And it was actually Peterson, right? I think that matched
That was
up.
McGill.
Oh, McGill, yeah, that was what they were saying. Maybe he would be the starting pitcher tomorrow. So I guess that's kind of surprising too that they didn't go back with McGill because he had such a great outing. But it shows that they don't really trust him.
The question is how long you guys think Senga's gonna go for?
Did you hear what he said about it?
No.
When they interviewed him, they were like, how many pitches are you gonna like, or what's your, I forget how they worded it,
Your
basically how
goal
many pitches. Yeah. And he said anywhere between 10 and 200. And then they asked, when's the last time you threw 200 pitches? And he said 5 years ago.
Whatever the ghost says so. His ghost fourth pitch.
Hi, Yuki.
Hey, Yuki. Yeah. So
I also think that this is where like Mendoza is such a interesting, like, in breath of fresh air, I guess, like for us as a manager, because he'll have like an idea in his head, but if it's looking a certain way or he feels confident or he doesn't feel confident, or he'll change his mind and he won't be like, he's been managing this team like they were in a playoff game for a while, and he doesn't worry about tomorrow. I remember with Buck, it was always like, well, we might need this pitcher tomorrow, so not use it tonight. Like now, I think he will do whatever he has to do.
Yeah, he takes
and whatever it looks like, he'll.
Well, he also listens to his players too, And, I think there's that good communication, especially with the pitchers. Can you stay in, and do you feel it? And, you tell me and I'll listen to you. And okay, he did that with Diaz. So
it's also follow through, because you can pretend you listen to your players, but to actually listen and go like, you want to stay in the game, you're going to stay in the game. That's like, that is like develops the trust. And I think that's what's been big for Mendoza, to develop that trust both ways.
yeah. So what's your take like on the biggest surprise in this past series, and what you think, of course, Senga pitching tomorrow is starting as a surprise for me, but like going forward, what other kind of, different kind of mixes with the lineup or players, or what other surprises do we expect to see? Anyone have any ideas?
Well, it won't be a surprise if we're thinking about it.
Well, I mean, no, I think like maybe JD playing, like where, we haven't had the confidence in him. And now that Alonso hit, is he somebody they're going to, being a veteran and being in the postseason, is he going to be a contributor, this weekend, that sort of thing? Any ideas?
And I think they'll look at splits, like a left-handed pitcher maybe, but not a right. Like, I mean, he's dramatically different with lefties and righties.
Yeah,
and I think.
yeah. So we have a lefty that we're facing on Sunday, right? So we have Sanchez, I believe. Is that who's pitching on Sunday?
Yeah.
So if you look, and it's matching up against Severino, if you look at their stats, they're so similar. It's almost scary, like ERA, whip, strikeouts. I was like, oh my God, it's like, except for, one's a righty, one's a lefty. I was like, wow, they could be like the same pitcher. So that, I think that'll be a really good matchup. And
and that was actually interesting to look at last night when I was going back and forth between Quintana and Myers, and it was like they were so similar.
Yeah, this was closer than people expected between the two teams if you matched up like player per player. And you just discarded what the record was, and not only overall record in the regular season, but the record, against each other, and how, the Milwaukee had demolished the Mets. But, the players statistically, yeah, they were really close.
Well, and I think that was one of the biggest surprises also is Quintana's outing, because he's been good, but he's also had, hasn't been
Terrible.
good at times. And like, he was amazing. He pitched an incredible game.
Yeah,
and if he could come back and do that again, that'll be a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mendoza needed someone with experience there, somebody who could take the pressure. And you're from Colombia, you can do whatever, you can do anything.
Well, he's been pitching well too. I mean, he had a lot of those bad outings were earlier in the year when we wanted to give him the boot and have him being part of the trade deadline. Remember that when we were talking about every player we wanted to see go, and the ones that are still on the team and now they're contributing. So
it's because everybody got better.
Yeah, I mean, and also the other thing, this is one of these like, oh, I'm sorry I said this, and, please forgive me. It's the coaching staff, because I really, I could not stand Jeremy Hefner. I wanted Chavez to go, Barnes, all those guys. I didn't even know what they were doing. I thought they weren't even coaching and helping these guys when they were.
Maybe they just started coaching.
So I don't know what happened. Like And they really, people have attributed a lot of their success to the coaches. So I guess, I guess there was something there.
Margie said that game ranks up there as one of the all-time great games. I read that it's the only playoff game that it was an elimination game that was won
Behind, yeah.
The ninth
from
inning.
behind, like one of those weird baseball stats, but it's the only. That's the only. I think maybe in all history.
Well,
I was surprised.
That game and the Atlanta game was one of the best games I've ever seen. I mean,
oh right, yeah. To have that happen twice in a week is really remarkable, and to think about what they had to do. Getting on a plane, leaving Milwaukee, going to Atlanta, then going back to Milwaukee.
Nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe when we were complaining about that whole West Coast trip, like the travel, like
it prepared them.
Yeah, I was thinking like we shouldn't have been complaining. We were like, okay, that's we're training already. So. Well, I have, I would like people to share their stories too of like when that moment happened, because for me, I was screaming, just crazy screaming. One of my dogs ran into the bathroom and peed all over the bathroom floor. The other one ran into the bedroom and hid under the bed. And my cat bit me because anytime I scream loudly, he bites. So it was like, oh my God, my pets are really responding. I'm like screaming so loud because I don't know. I don't even think I did that on Monday. It must have been. I think it was the Alonso thing, because I'm prepared for sure. I think maybe I felt more confident on Monday.
I was in shock. I was literally like what? Like that was me and then my heart racing, and I was speechless. I couldn't flabbergasted. I couldn't say anything. I was just like, really? This just happened? Like I was just in shock.
It was a lot of that during the year too. I think too we have texted a lot. I know Emily and I were texting a lot last night, and a lot of it is like, wait, did that just happen? Like, I think that like a pause, right? You're texting, you're going, oh my God, I can't, he's going to be behind. He's going to strike, like you're thinking the word, and then something great happens. You're like, what?
Especially from Pete, because Pete has been such a story.
Well, last night.
You have a puppy there looking at you, Brenda.
Oh, I do. You see a puppy?
I see a puppy.
Here's a puppy. This one went under the bed.
Brenda and Marge said she got to share those moments with you.
Yeah. So Margie called me right after Alonso hit the home run, and I'm like, oh wait, let's get another run. We were like, we need an insurance run, and then they did, and we were on the phone for that. And then it was like, wait a sec, they have to get these outs. Like they can't give this back. This would be terrible. So it wasn't, until that double play ended the game that it was like, oh my God, it's done.
And that double play was insane. I mean, it's overshadowed by the home run, but the double play was crazy. And like, he's just so incredibly smart when it comes to baseball. To because that would have been a lot for Acuna. Like that's, to catch and throw as fast as he would have had to.
No time. He was like, I'm gonna take care of this. But you guys I feel safe when Peterson came to pitch. You guys felt that too?
I was a little worried because I tend to not like when starters come in to in relief, but I was at the 7th game of the '86 World Series, and Sid Fernandez came in as a reliever, and he was, obviously he was a starter for the Mets that year. So for me, it was Sid Fernandez who won that World Series for them. That I felt like he held Boston and they went on to win that game. And, you know, Strawberry hit that dramatic home run. It was unbelievable. And I haven't really felt that with the Met pitchers this year, but it worked. You know, like so many times when Mendoza does something, I'm like, I can't believe he did that, and then it works. I'm like, okay, never mind. You're the coach. You know better than me.
We have
and the other thing is,
Anthony.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, we're remembering Peterson as the pitcher he was, and not the pitcher he's been this year. And this year, he's like, I didn't feel confident when Peterson was out there ever before. You know, like, and I've seen him pitch in person, and it's just not exciting. It's like he was, but this year he's been a different pitcher, and you know that part was weighing in when I was like, he's done way more than I thought he could do. Why couldn't he close
Yeah.
out a game?
Yeah, no.
I agree. Anthony said, I had to hear the blast over a Brewers feet. The announcers were pissed. I've heard in another game, and they were just like, yeah, home run. Okay, he scored. Okay, like no, they were just like. Blah.
Well, I kind of feel like the ESPN announcers are sort of similar too.
They're the worst.
Yeah, that's
so boring. Oh my god,
that's a whole nother story. And they like set themselves up, like they're always setting themselves up for the team that they think's gonna win, you know. So they're like, oh, back, you know, and you know, the Milwaukee, they haven't won since so and they blew it last year, but you know, this may be their year, you know. And I'm like, just shut up.
Yeah, and were you guys watching when was it? Well, I think it was the Braves game. Lindor, I can't remember what game it was. Lindor, they're gonna walk Lindor, and then no, they're not gonna walk him, and then Mendoza came out, and the announcers were like quiet. They were like,
"Oh, I know." We didn't know what was going on.
Seconds of silence. I'm like, and I imagine like Gary, Keith, and Ron would have been like blah 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 blah. Well, this is it. Blah, blah, blah. They were like,
they would have been explaining it. Yeah.
Also, they kept saying who was warming up in the bullpen for the Brewers, and they wouldn't say who was warming up in the bullpen for the Mets, or if anyone even was. So I had to keep looking at my phone to see if I would get like a notification of a pitching change, because they weren't saying anything.
Yeah, or you listen to Howie Rose right on the radio.
Darren said Pete saved it for what could have possibly been his last at bat as a Met. True.
But yeah, and it's not. So thank God.
Peterson said, Darren said Peterson was a brilliant move because he nullifies the lefties, and his pickup move kept runner on first, which allowed the double play.
Yeah, that's such a key thing. Oh, by the way, here's something kind of interesting. I want to bring this up because they interviewed Alvarez about Milwaukee having so much speed and running on the bases, and he was like, "Look, it's the pitchers." He was like, they got to, you know, get the right rhythm, and they got to be throwing over, and they're the ones that, I don't know if you heard that interview. Didn't any of you hear that interview? He was saying like the pitchers it's their fault, right? If these guys run. And there is something to be said about that, because really runners are taking advantage of the pitchers. If they're not thrown up, or they're not paying attention. And so that's a great point about Peterson. And I think, you know, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked in the analytics for Philadelphia and where they're going to, you know, try to take advantage of the Mets. And I hope it's not on the bases too. But, you know.
Yeah, Margie said that Howie's Rose call was incredible. Yes, did you get the video? Yeah, I saw the video of them on the plane, and
I love that video
because they were playing it out loud, and I'm like, why? He doesn't want to hear himself.
I saw the link, but I haven't seen the plane video yet. But I listened.
It's adorable.
I probably
really
listened
cute.
to Howie Rose like 10 times that call. And he's been interviewed on ESPN radio a few times this week, and they asked him, like, when are you going to, like, just end this, like, you know, retire? Because he's 70 years old. It's hard to believe he's 70 because it doesn't sound like he's 70 years old, if there's such a thing, like sounding like you're 75. He said, you know, like, I think, like, when they win it, because when he started, it was 1987. And so he wasn't announcing.
He like just missed it.
In 86. So he just started after they won the World Series. They haven't won since. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to stay until they do it. So so I hope he stays longer. I hope they do it this year and he stays longer still. But
Yeah.
I do miss Ronnie, Keith, and Gary. Oh my gosh, do I miss them so much. But if we want to watch another baseball game this weekend, we can hear Ronnie because he's part of the Yankee announcers.
Well, and Gary's been doing Gary does the post game
right.
SNY, so you can hear his reactions, which is nice to hear.
And they always show those over. I don't if I turn the TV on in the morning and it's on SNY, they're always like, it's like a rerun. And I'm like, okay, I could watch this all day long. So
sometimes I prefer for not to listen to anything if it's gonna be that bad. I don't want to hear that. It's just so boring and unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the Apple TV broadcasters, but it's not very good.
No.
And that the thing that makes me so angry is the prediction of like who the like percentage chance of which team is going to win, and you want to be like, it if you know baseball, like none of this is real because anything could happen in any inning. There's no it makes no sense.
Yeah. So, and then even when you start, like I saw this, like for tomorrow's outing. So I'm going to do Senga/Peterson tomorrow versus Zach Wheeler. 35% chance that the Mets will win. Like 65, like that's huge difference. And then it's closer on Sunday with Severino and Sanchez, 43%. The Mets,
but
57.
Any of them could have a bad outing.
Oh, yeah.
And on any given day, we've seen the Mets have great, like, hit well against great pitchers, have a terrible pitcher that they can't hit at all. I mean, it's way
a rookie they can't hit.
Who's slept better, who's more rested. I mean,
right.
You know, Phillies are rusty because they haven't played in a week. You don't know.
A lot of factors. And, you know, they do this thing like the home and away, and look what just happened with every team except for San Diego that was away. The road teams won. So you can't go by that either, you know. Just throw it out.
But at the end of the day, what you're doing is guessing.
Yeah.
All of it. All that we do. And I know nothing. We don't know. Like, I know, you know what you see, you know what you feel, but people surprise you.
Just wait till the end and talk about what happened. Don't try to.
I also feel like, you know, and I've said this a number of times, it's like a clean slate. Like, you just get into the playoffs and then we're starting over. We're all, you know, in the, like, starting from level like 1 here, you know, and I just think anything can happen, and we saw it so many times in the last few years with Arizona, with you know, the Washington in 2019, and you know, even Atlanta Braves when they won in 2021. It's like these teams that weren't expected to win have won or made it into the World Series. So anything's possible.
And it's not over till it's over.
Yeah. So any last minute words out there from our
I'm like Emily, I'm exhausted.
So tired.
Let's see what Anthony says. This season is magical. It reminds me of 86 and 2000. And the past 4 teams to beat the Brewers went to the World Series. Ooh. And this season also reminds me of the Phillies run of 2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice
So,
comment, Anthony. Thank you.
yeah. And I think it may be even closer with the Mets to like what Washington Nationals did in 2019, because they were so far behind in the beginning of the year, and they came back and they made it, and then they won the World Series. But that means that the Mets are going to win the World Series.
It would be wild if it ended up being the Mets and the Tigers.
Oh my God, that would be so weird, right? Like,
I have a friend. She's a Yankees fan, but I'm not gonna say her name just to protect her privacy. She texted me and she's like, both her and her husband are Yankee fans. She's like, we were watching the game. That was an incredible game. I'm like,
I've
yes.
had a lot of Yankees fans text me today and
yeah.
say
Yeah,
that.
it's interesting. I had a client come in for a meeting wearing a Yankee hat, but he was like, he saw I had Met stuff like, on the desk, and he's like, okay, great game. He goes, maybe it'll be a Subway Series. So I said, maybe.
I told my friend, if it's a Subway Series, I'm gonna invite you to the podcast. And she's like,
and I said, good luck too. Like, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be good, not mean to the Yankee fans.
no, we can have her just a little.
Yeah.
I mean, right now they're being very supportive of us. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's people that are just New York fans, right? Too.
They have to support each
They're
other.
for New York teams, so. All right, everyone. Let's go, Matt. Thank you for
everybody.
joining
Thank
us.
you, Emily.
Share, like, comment, let everybody know. We appreciate it. Love you guys.
Bye.